So is this the right time to start?
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just, we just need more volume.
You can't put your hand up if you can hear me. Is it not loud enough?
You're just not loud enough. One moment.
It's not going up. There's like a, it's not moving though. So.
Getting there, Betty.
We'll get it right.
I don't know. It's already at 100%.
Okay, Laura, mine is probably a lot louder. Do we want to turn that on?
Can you hear me now? How is it now? Can you hear? No. Can you hear me? Shake your head. Can you hear me? Yes, but not loud enough. No. Okay. So you tell me when to begin. Should I start? Yes. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see you in person, but also wonderful to have the opportunity to be connected with you through technology. I'm also very happy that Joan changed the title from Staying Alive to Words of Encouragement. So, because I hope that we can do more than stay alive. But it is true, these words, staying alive, or words of encouragement in difficult times. And it's true. It's true. These are in some ways the most difficult times we've lived in, many of us. Some of us who are older lived through the Second World War. But this is a very difficult time in other ways because we were surrounded by this blanket of uncertainty and fear, distrust and insecurity. Yet we were born for it. Our children were born for this. This is what we're here to face now. And how often we've been telling children stories of brave figures who meet challenges, who overcome the challenges. We tell them the stories, but now we have the opportunity to model how we meet these kinds of challenges. And so this is a very critical time for us to be ourselves, to walk our talk, and to really look for the depth in what we're doing. We celebrate Michaelmas at this time to be reminded of the need for courage. We know that expression, these are the times that try men's souls. Well, these are the times that are trying our souls. We are not in an active war with bombs here, bombs flying or gunshots, but we're in a war. The earth is calling out to us in pain. Individuals are calling out to us in pain. It is exhausting. I'm sure you must feel this every day. There's something new that we have to absorb, that we have to transform. And we have to ask this question, in the midst of all of this, how do we inspire our children? When our body's in pain, our attention is drawn to the sight and it wakes us up. We have to do something about it. And the problem gets worse if we don't. And this is the same thing with the times we're living in. We have been ignoring situations. We've been vaguely aware of the pain of the earth and of individuals and of society. We haven't paid enough attention. We've been busy with our own lives, but we cannot ignore it anymore. Everything is calling out to us, wake up, wake up. And we have to do something, no matter how small it is. We have to pay attention in a way that we have not done before. So even when we're designing a project with our class, for example, to deal with the earth, and we're doing something, perhaps recycling or a small garden, whatever it is we're doing, we are doing something with the children. That is the way that we meet the fear, by bringing together our will and their will and doing something, however small it is. And then with the children, reflecting on the progress we've made. So we have to help them see we can make a difference. It does matter what we do, not only to sing beautiful songs, for example, about the earth, but to do something practical about it. Can we dare to do something? Because we are the models. And when we do it with the children, we regain a sense of vigor and positivity. And then we think about the children. How are we meeting the individual children's needs? Have we been missing a child? Can we put ourselves into that child's feelings? Can we see what that child is asking of us? And the answer for that really is, are we doing our inner work? Are we looking at our children before we go to bed at night? Are we creating that moment or those moments where we are open and we're asking the question, what do you need? What can I do? How can I surround you with love? And am I checking in with that child's parents? Also, because remember, it's a partnership. Am I checking in with the child? Am I checking in with myself? Am I checking in with the parents? So, and am I looking at the curriculum? How is the curriculum meeting the child's need? Recently, I spoke to a long-term, to a Waldorf alum who's involved in fundraising in Waldorf schools. I talked to him. He had been a child in a very established Waldorf school. And he said, you know, I loved my teacher. I loved my school. But in all the years I was there, and he was a lifer, I never felt the teacher was actually talking to me. I never was exposed to another person in all the stories who looked like me. I never experienced someone looking like me. And he said, but I know things have changed, and that's what I'm hoping for. That was very powerful when he said that as an African-American. And now in his 50s, he still loves Waldorf education, and he hopes that we are making the changes. And I think we are, but we have to keep asking the question, how can we do better? So this Michaelmas is often a kind of second beginning of the year. We start the year and then we have Michaelmas, and it comes in with this oomph. And it's really this time of courage and waking us up. And we know that Michael always leaves us in freedom. Michael will never give us an answer, but we can ask a question. And in the silence, we listen for the answer to the question. And I was thinking about this as a threefold triangle in our work that we do inwardly. So we have the work where we're checking in with ourselves. How am I doing? How's my thinking? How's my feeling? How's my willing? It's a personal check-in. And then we have the check-in with the child. What can I do to help you? And along with that, the check-in with the parents. But then there's the silent check-in where we have total quiet, where we're really opening that space. You can call it meditation, you can call it silence, where we really are asking the question of the spiritual world. And it's so hard in the busyness of our lives. And those of you who know me know I'm always busy, but it's so hard to say, no, 5 minutes or 10 minutes is worth it. And the more we do it, the more we know how worth it is. Can I be in that silence so that there can be a communication between myself and those that are no longer in or never have been in the physical world? Can I make a connection with my angel or the angel of the child? That triangle I'm speaking of, the threefold check-in, we could call it. And what it reminds me of is a situation that we are dealing with right now in the Waldorf movement, as well as in our world. And it's a really hard time, folks. I'll give you an example from what happened a week ago. I went on to a Facebook Waldorf site, and there were all kinds of things going on. Rudolf Steiner would never have allowed this. He would never have allowed vaccines. He would never have allowed masks. And it's going on and on like this. And one person said she had been a Waldorf student all her life, and now as an adult, she really was hoping that we could quiet down and we could not be in this conflict with each other, and we could understand there are different perspectives. And I never respond to these, but I did respond to that. And I said, and I agreed with her. And I said, and let's remember that Rudolf Steiner was very clear that he was never asking us to do what he said. He was asking us to do our own thinking. to take what he said and test it out, do our own thinking. And let's remember that. So I just wrote something very brief about that. Well, I got back a response from somebody I do not know, I think from another country. And the person said, I used to think highly of you, but I don't anymore. You know? Well, that's the way it goes. But I thought about that, and I thought about how this is happening in many of our schools. And because of Zoom, I've been able in the past year to be involved with many schools. I've done, like in some schools every 2 weeks with parents, and some once a month in Canada and the United States. And you can feel the stress and the worry that parents are going through. But this quickness to judge each other is a very serious problem. It used to be, some of you may remember if you've been around a while, it used to be, oh, sugar is bad. We never want any sugar, no birthday cakes, nothing. Rudolf Steiner never said anything about that. He said moderation. And so you get to get this lining up and the tension between people about those who say this is right and that's right. Then it was technology. At the beginning of the pandemic, I will not do technology. Technology is wrong for children. Never, I'm not going to do it. We have teachers who've left the schools because they would not work with technology. Okay, Rudolf Steiner did speak about technology. He spoke a lot. And he said, because technology is based on the sub-earthly forces, on the electrical forces, it takes us down. We have to balance it by going further up. So he never says, don't use it. He's saying, be conscious. We have to go further up as the technology takes us further down, of course, into Ahriman's realm. So again, don't be in conflict with each other. Try to find ways to relate to each other and don't push these things away. They're part of our time. I went back as I thought about this. I went to my favorite set of lectures, The Child's Changing Consciousness in Waldorf Education. I like it because it was given in Bern in 1923. So the schools had been in session for 4 years. And Rudolf Steiner speaks very differently in this set of lectures because he has experienced the issues that schools go through. He experienced what teachers go through. And he says in here that everything that we do has to be read in the child's own nature. And that's one side. And the other side, he says, the other side consists of the demands made by life itself. It's on page 150. This is very important. And then he goes on and says, what must never happen is to allow a more or less sectarian or fanatical zeal to creep into our educational endeavors, only to find at the end of the road that our pupils do not fit into life as it is. And he goes on, it's one of the most important chapters I've ever read that is so contemporary. So it's all marked up in my book, of course. So this question of how do we live with the need of the child and the needs of what's coming to us from life itself? And how do we not be a victim of dogmatism? There are so many myths about Waldorf education. It's not easy. We heard things in teacher training. We hear things from other teachers. And of course, we want to imitate because when we're new, it's the right thing to do. But it doesn't work that way. We have to always look at it and say, how does this relate to the children in front of me? What must I do? So I picked up a renewal from 2010. You know how the right things always come into your hands when you are looking for something. And it was an article by Christoph Vicker. And he's talking about the myths in Waldorf education. And this particular article is about the threefold lesson, the threefold main lesson. And he said, Steiner never talked about a threefold main lesson. These are myths. People have along the way figured out, okay, if you do this first, then you do the second, and then we come up with the formula for a main lesson. He said, no. Rudolf Steiner spoke about rhythm, that you figure out the rhythm of your lesson. Some days it might be good to tell the story at the end or at the beginning. And no, not 45 minutes of warm up, you know. And so it's beautiful. Christoph Vicker takes that and he really wakes us up. There are so many myths. We have to always go back to where does this come from? And how does this really live with our children? Have we exhausted them before we even got to the learning? Or have we become formulaic and we have this just, you know, set in motion like that? So we become followers of a kind of dogmatism. So that's really important, you know, because when we work with a formula, these are dead concepts. They're not living. We have to look at the children. We have to look at our times. We have to look at what we can do. We have lost too many teachers from our movement because they said, no, Rudolf Steiner never said we should allow technology into the classroom. We've lost those people. It's terrible. But they made their choices. Instead of saying, what do our children need? What can I do? What can I do? That's our task. What can I do? You know, when I first became involved with Waldorf education in the public, it was not an easy situation. And I got bashed a lot. And I would sit there at Steiner College and I would look at the photograph of Rudolf Steiner and I would say in my head, what do you think about this? Am I doing the right thing? Not everybody agrees. And I would just look, of course, I got no answer because I got silence. But the silence was an answer because in the silence, it was, I had to go back to my own conscience and I had to do what I felt was right and just take the consequences. And so it was. But we don't have the answers and nothing is going to come out of the clouds and say, here is your answer. It's going to come in moments, a little flash of insight. And then we feel, okay, that's what it is. Let me work with this. So it's not going to be easy, but there you are in the classroom. It's wonderful to look at you, dear teachers. Yesterday, for the first time, I got to go down to the Sacramento Waldorf School to Michaelmas. First time they had the 6th and 12th grade parents allowed for the festival. And I got a special little privilege to go and be an outlier and stand with the 12th grade parents and see the children in the festival of Michaelmas. And it was so beautiful. But it reminds us, because the transformation of the dragon is no longer to slay the dragon. That's the old way, as to transform the dragon. And there were many stories of this. In this case, yesterday, the children brought flowers and they transformed the dragon. There are wonderful stories about how the dragon becomes the puller of the plow, and you can find it. But that's an image for our life. Violence is not the answer. It's transforming that's the answer. And so how do we, as teachers, in tiny ways as well as big ways, transform? How do we stay flexible? How do we stay in connection with our colleagues? When we're coming up with an answer we think is going to work in the classroom, but it's a little bit different, have a conversation with the colleagues. So at least you know what each other is doing. Very, very important. And then we can ask ourselves, are we doing the good? Are we acting out of freedom as Michael wants us to? Or are we following somebody else? Are we looking up to another authority? Or as consciousness soul teachers, can we work out of the depths of anthroposophy to find our own way? These are the questions of our time. So as we're going through all these questions, let's look around. The seasonal changes, even in Arizona, there are many seasonal changes. I remember being in Phoenix and being told, yes, there's more green right now. Okay, I can't quite see it because I'm coming from another area, which is a different sense of nature. But yes, let's find those moments where we see seasonal changes. Let's rejoice in being part of this great microcosm, that we live in the rhythm of the year, that we celebrate the festivals in music, in poetry, in dance, in food. Let's cherish our moments of knowing we are here together in this place, in this time, facing what comes to meet us. It is our time. This is the kind of struggle that keeps us alive. It keeps us vibrant. It keeps us creative. And it keeps us inwardly powerful so that we can meet each day. Who said it would be easy? It's not. It's not. Let's give each other a hand and get to work. Blessings on your year. And have a good rest of your conference.